Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to talk about AVCT. The stock is a very volatile one that attracted a huge amount of attention and hope over the past few weeks and months. Lots of speculations have been applied to the company ever since, and many are still wondering what lies ahead for this company. So today we're going to take a fresh look at AVCT and see if we should put more money in this company. As always, if you appreciate what I do, please consider to drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and check out the links down in the description. Before we begin, I'd like to state a brief disclaimer for what this video is and what it shouldn't be. What is presented in this video are going to be my opinion or my interpretations on how things are and will be. They're not investment advice and should be watched for entertainment purposes. They might be able to help you to make better decisions, but they shouldn't be the only source of the decision-making process. Most of my material would be, done in the immediate past or just a few days before the uploading. And the price action, by the time you see it, might no longer reflect what you currently see on chart. But it's always relevant to analyze the past to see what hints they may have for us in the future. Also, the analysis covers the stock as comprehensively as possible, and it's going to talk about more factors than just the latest news or the price actions. For example, we might talk about the company's financials, the trends like the stock market trends, the long-term perspectives, shareholders' behaviors, and so on. They're all going to affect the timing, the quantity, and the actual decision. Most of my viewers would be watching my videos for the first time, so it is important for them to consider all these factors. So with that being said, let's begin with today's topic. Simply put, AVCT is a cloud-based service provider that wants to profit from the bandwagon of virtualization and to facilitate communication in the virtual environment. The sector certainly has its potentials, but it also has its pitfalls. Most services in the sector tend to be either free or freemium. People have been conditioned to always seek the cheapest options or to change their work behaviors to accommodate the tools as soon as they learn that those with more capabilities might charge the users. As for corporate clients, yes, they're more stable, yes, they're willing to pay, but their demands are often met with applications from bigger fish already who might have the means to provide additional support and customizations, which smaller companies don't have. Also, the larger corporations tend to have an aura of reliability and continuation for the corporate clients, and they may trust those that they're not going to be, discontinued if anything happens. This last point is a key factor that might explain why AVCT doesn't have the kind of success that it hopes for. Their decision in summer 2022 to sell the company has only reinforced this assertion ever since. With that being said, the current attraction of AVCT is the possibility to sell itself to a general buyer who has the money to dole out in exchange of its client base and technology. This expectation for a large buy-on premium justifies the interest that traders have towards AVCT, reasonable or not. Over the past few days, the stock price of AVCT was able to cling back to above $1 and is currently around $1.20 level. We previously mentioned how important it is to see that AVCT can stabilize itself, and on Monday the market seems to have gotten back some of its losses, which is very encouraging for sure. We gotta remember that AVCT is a company for whom time is ticking at a very worrisome rate, and this is why caution is very much advised when trading it. Given how the price action is at the moment, I wouldn't even say that the downward momentum slowed. It went down by 13% over the past 5 days, and it has been down by 37% past this month. In other words, if anything, the sell-off has even accelerated a little, all things considered. The support level remains at the 80 cents level on November 9th, and if the price gets tested there, I believe that a decent entry point can be found. On the other hand, now that the price has gone back above $1, we should be able to look for the entry points. Of course, we should always look at whether AVCT can sustain itself above $1 for at least another 2 or 3 trading sessions to see if the current momentum can be sustained. Now, the long-term price action of AVCT has been under duress as well. The company went public in the worst of the time around March of 2020 as economies around the world shut down, causing a major stock crash. They never really recovered ever since, so even during the boom years of 2020 and 2021, it gained back some of its initial losses, but it wasn't enough to attract additional traders in a sustained manner. The capital that it raised wasn't enough to cover the expenses. Looking back, the company tried to succeed in a highly competitive sector that it wasn't to sustain. And, unfavorable market timing also accelerated the unwinding. Looking ahead, AVCT is now trying to sell itself, and just like the short-term price action, the road ahead largely depends on how well and how soon the buyout happens, if it occurs at all. So in terms of online opinion and discussions, it's fairly bare bones. It's mostly made of the company's own PR releases. Some shareholders, I would say, occasionally mention on online forums expressing how they hope that things are going to go their way and how much they hope that a buyer is going to be generous. Also, the current speculation is that, it's probably going to be Microsoft, but even then, we're not sure. So far, nobody has said anything tangible in that direction. So, what we can gather from all this is that the company gets some interest, and it's similar to the amount of interest that a small company like them would have. And in the meantime, as long as there's no tangible announcements and significant announcements on how far they have negotiated the sale, the current sluggish stock performance is going to remain. In the meantime, AVCT is also being affected by the macroeconomic factors, especially the quantity of money that is currently flowing around for the growth stocks or like the tech stocks. Partially because of the end of the QEs, the recession, the capital flights, and also because of the increase of the interest rates. Those factors affect AVCT in one way or another, but the biggest impact would be on how much capital the buyers have if and when they decide to buy the company. So, in terms of their financials, the biggest thing to look at would be the cash. The cash amount has been dwindling, and currently they have, the reason why they have any cash left is because they have been diluting their equity. The sale of its other business was the other factor. It was done in late 2021, and, that has shrinked the financial positions significantly. And this has a certain effect on the financial ratios and how much they can sell the remainder business for. There are around $63 million of debt, $22 million of which is current debt due within a year. This should mean that on top of operating losses that AVCT might have incurred over the previous 12 months, there will be at least another $22 million less from the cash reserves, suggesting that if the sales takes longer than a year, we should expect another round of dilutions. So the revenue has also been decreasing, likely because people are expecting that whatever services that they're selling would be discontinued once the transaction is finished. So previously, they also sold about half of their expenses, but almost 80% of their revenue. So overall, it's a bad deal, to be honest, but it has allowed the company to buy itself some time. But that time probably is also running out. Meanwhile, there's another about $10 million of operating losses outside of the current liabilities, which might trigger further dilutions. Overall, time is definitely ticking for AVCT, and it needs to find a generous buyer fast. There's around 35% of institutional buyers, which usually would suggest long-term trust in the company. But in this case, I do believe that it suggests there is a certain optimism for a generous buyout, and then that's it. Regarding the short squeeze potentials, I would say that this is certainly not the main concern for this company. There's around 840,000 shares shorted for AVCT, which is significant, but this isn't the only indication that there is any sort of potential for short squeeze or small short squeeze. I would say that a surplus of shares, any surplus of shares above 100% would mean that there is probably a short selling amongst different stakeholders and especially institutional ones. Although, to be honest, when the price is already that low, I'm really not convinced by how much short potential there can be. And also, regarding the short squeeze, if there is no buyout announcement announced, there won't be much like short squeeze, in my humble opinion. I think that this is going to be like a secondary effect that's going to be compounding the effect of the buyout. But other than that, it has like limited relevance for us for the time being. So based on those price action dynamics, I would recommend to enter in a position with AVCT if they can maintain the $1 or like the $1.20 level for at least 2 to 3 days. Otherwise, it would be smarter to stand aside and to wait for a better entry timing. The maximum exposure I would recommend is between 0.5 to 1% of your portfolio.